Onuora State. Okay, that's the big Igbo state, right?
Yeah, that's the big one right across the River Niger. So it's the first one when you enter Igbo land.
Okay, hold on one second. All right, there we go. All right, everybody, we are live again early this morning, Sunday morning, Dynasty Mirror Search for Huru. And I have the brother Onuora Abuah. Did I say it right?
Onuora.
So the A silent. You there?
No.
Hello? Oh, the brother froze up on us already. Abuah. Hello. All right, so hopefully he'll hop back on. What's up, everybody? Good morning. Happy Sunday morning. It is early out here. It's about 9 a.m. You know, let's hopefully get this brother back on. He'll log off and come back on. But today's topic is, why do Nigerians risk their lives leaving Nigeria versus just staying? So we'll jump right into it once the brother. Yeah, okay, yeah, we had lost you.
Yeah, it was. Hello? Can you hear me?
Yeah, we hear you.
Okay, let me see. Let me see if I turn my camera on. Let me see what happens. Can you hear me?
You might have to turn it off, but if it freezes up again, next time you come on, just you might have to turn your camera off.
Okay, okay. Can you see me?
Yeah, but we're good. We're good. Yeah, we're good to go.
Okay, I didn't hear anything you said, so.
No. I was the pronunciation of your name. I said the A is silent, I guess.
No. Onuora. So it's
Onuora.
Onuora. Onuora. Yeah. So it's the U. Onu is the mouth, and then Ora is people, the public. So
Onuora.
The people's mouth kind of thing. Onuora.
Got it. So everyone, we are live. Like I said, this morning's topic is, why do Nigerians risk their lives leaving Nigeria rather than just staying? Now, why is that? And not only that, but let me ask you this. You know, in fact, let me read this comment. One of my favorite trolls, up to the point now, I think she's a white lady posing as a Nigerian. Hold on, let me read this comment she made in regards to the guest I had on.
Linda.
Huh?
Who is it? Linda Akeji?
No. Her name is Miss Chichi. She claims to be Nigerian, but I think she's just a white troll. But let me read this comment.
Okay.
You know, because I don't know what it is about some Africans. But here we go. Miss Chichi, and her name is Miss Chichi, and she's responding to the guest I had on yesterday. And the guest I had on yesterday was speaking on the racism he deals with as a Nigerian or a black person, because they don't give a fuck where you're from. They see it as all black, black person in India. So she says, poor thing, he's so uneducated. I could tell he's a fan of listening to Black American content on YouTube that only concerns white supremacy and race, because that is what fuels their mind, and he's simply playing into it. In his mind, this interview could be a helping hand for him to get into the Western Hemisphere. And he does exaggerate a lot too. He's a typical Johnny just come. The truth of the matter is, Nigerians or Africans in general don't care how anyone treats them, as long as they can achieve what they go there to achieve. What are your thoughts on that comment? Are Africans that desperate to succeed where they could care less how someone treats them and how they disrespect them?
Well, I mean, I don't know this Miss Chichi, but I think she's.
And then let me finish what she says. She says, "You see, he's trying to renew his visa to stay in India. This guy doesn't want to leave India. If he was to come to America and found himself in the mix of BAs, he would still have had news to report about how he was treated different. And talking about Black Americans, we need to talk about Black Americans that have murdered my Nigerian and African brothers in this country. There's no truth to that." Yeah, I think she's just a white troll. That's what I'm starting to think now.
Well, you know, I think the majority of first of all, before we go on, let me first of all commend you on your show.
Thank you.
You do a very important work, and I discovered you few months ago when I was going to Mali, and you put me in touch with some people. So
wow, thank you.
Very important work, and you have a wide spectrum of people that come on your show.
Mm-hmm.
And the comments are useful, but I think we have to address the fundamental problem. I think ultimately you have to understand that it is not just an African thing to want to go and better your life.
Right.
If you go through the history of the entire world, every single race has done it at some point. The fact that you have Sicilian Americans who would risk their lives, jump on boats in the 1900s to come to the States is because they wanted to better their lives. I think to say that everybody, or the Nigerians that do it, or the Africans that do it simply because they don't care how people treat them and they just want to go somewhere and succeed at all costs, I think it's a bit ignorant. I think he's glossing over the issue. The ultimate issue is if home was better, they would stay home. That's the reality.
Right.
I think, unfortunately, and I'm an Igbo man, so if you study anything to do with the Igbo culture, Nigeria has been one country for about 100 years, 105 years altogether, and
right.
That's when they amalgamated the North and the South. And the Igbos, from the outset of that, were traveling all across Nigeria and doing trade. So even the fact that my brother is over there in India is something that would have probably happened even if Nigeria was a better country. Igbo people in particular tend to be traders. In fact, there's a Nigerian joke that Igbo people are the container people. So they bring in containers to the ports and they sell stuff in the country. But to just address this lady's point again, you see, even when you bring up a point like, address the Black Americans who are murdering our Igbo people, I think she's, again, being too simplistic. You see, if you focus on one or two little issues and you don't focus on the wider mistreatment of Black people in general, around the world, whether it be Australia, the massacre of Tasmanians in New Zealand, whether it's Papua New Guinea, whether it's Britain, where I am right now, then what you do is you're basically just, in fact, if anybody is trying to get props from the white people, it's her. By
right. I say this, jockeying for position under white supremacy.
Yeah, basically. And just a couple of things that my brother brought up yesterday. I mean, the racism in India is widely documented. You only have to go and research the writings of the great Mohandas K. Gandhi to find out how racist the Brahmins, which are the lighter skinned Indian people, have been for thousands of years. You only have to do a little bit of research. You only have to go and do a little bit of research of Dr. Andulkar, who's basically the Dravidian or the Dalit, the great Dalit, to find out how their plight has been mirrored by what Black Americans were going through in America, what Black people were going through in South America, what Africans were going through in Africa. It's a common theme that we all share. So for me to even be having this conversation with you now, where my sister is there saying, "Oh, let's deal with the problem between Onuora and Diners."
Let me ask you this, brother. Let me ask you this. Sorry to cut you off. Why do some, and I just notice it from either sometimes it's Kenyan women. I don't know why Kenyan women, not the men. And to be more specific, Igbos. Why do they have such a disdain for Black Americans? Especially Igbos. I don't know what it is. I don't see it from like Hassa. I don't see it from Yoruba. What's the issue? Because people they group it as far as Africans versus African Americans. But me personally, I have no issues with the Senegalese Gambian community, no issues with the Ghanaian American community. It's just for some reason, and to be specific to really break it down, it's Igbos who have an issue with Black Americans the most. Why is that, brother? You can finish your your statement then, if you could address that. I don't understand why.
I mean, I don't know. I think once you put people in an environment that is not their own, we're always going to find little differences in each other to one up the other. So, for example, I live in England. In England, you have all types of different African people who, the minute they spot each other on the street, they greet each other. But once they're in an environment where they're together, they find differences amongst each other. Igbo people in particular, I don't know. I can't speak for the whole Igbo, 40 million Igbo people. But what I can say is Black people in general, and I'm not really a fan of the differentiating. Black people in general suffer from the same problem. The same problem because we're, as you said, jockeying for, we're looking for the position of white supremacy. That we try and find things to make ourselves better. I think I saw one of your videos where you had one Igbo man who is, phenotypically Igbo, looks Igbo, but on the inside he thinks he's a Jew.
Right.
So the same problem that we all face. You will find, but you won't find much of a difference with Black Americans. Some Black Americans who look at other Black Americans as less than them. You won't find any even within Africa itself. For example, in Igbo land or even Nigeria in general, I mean, you have the skin complexion issue. You have it all across Africa and Kenya, because I was born in Kenya and my mom's family lives in Uganda. So it's a similar type of thing. Over there, again, phenotypically African people, but the way they talk, the way they think, even the way they try and fake their accents, they're trying to be like Westerners. So I don't I don't even know if it's just Igbo people. I think Black people, period. We have the same problem of trying to put each other down. And also, I think Igbo people are largely based in Texas. At least the largest population of Igbo people.
Oh yeah, well, Houston has the largest Nigerian population outside of Nigeria, more than UK.
I'd say largest Igbo population because I don't know if UK is competing with them, but definitely
there's a lot in Atlanta where I'm at too.
Okay. Igbo people in particular, I know, go and you see Igbo culture. You have to understand Igbo culture as well. Igbo culture is a very kind of Republican culture. It's not one where you have. I can see that. There's no king. There's no central king like the Oni of Ife or the Alafin of Oyo for the Yoruba people. There are many different groups, so they find themselves and they commute. Even in one village right next to the other or one town next to the other, they have to have separate meetings. That's how Igbo people are. So I think even within Igbo culture, you'll find those same issues. So I wouldn't, I really wouldn't pay attention to what that lady is saying.
Okay. All right, but go ahead. I know you were speaking on the problem with. I've never heard of a Black Americans running around killing. Let's not even deal with that, brother. Let's get back on the topic. Black Nigerians leaving Nigeria rather than staying.
Yeah. So as I was saying, first things first. You have to understand that this is people leaving their country for a better life is a normal thing, and people going to great lengths is a normal thing. I think the major issue is this. Africa has been largely independent, what you call independence, in paper independence with the fake borders, for about 50 to 60 years. So it's only in the last few years that we're seeing it happen more because people who were very optimistic 60 years ago are starting to see that everything that they've built or everything that they thought they would get, they won't get. And so their migration is fairly recent. But when you look at Syrians running across Europe, when you look at even Portuguese people running to Angola and Mozambique, people don't talk about what they're doing there. They're running in fact, I don't know the amount of, the statistics for 2016 alone was something like 100,000 had remigrated from Portugal, So I think it's a common thing. When people see that there's a better way of life, they will go. Now, I think even to do with the Mediterranean, first of all, the Mediterranean thing, look at the demographic, look at the actual numbers. Statistics, well, I'm sure will not show you that the majority of the people that are crossing crossing the Mediterranean and even going through Turkey, through Europe, they're not largely Black people and they're not largely African people. They're largely people from the Maghreb, people from Syria, Afghanistan, this type of thing. This is another media thing where they'll try and make it seem as though now we are all convinced that we are the only ones who cross the Mediterranean, So, but anyway, just to address the main point. You see, Nigeria being the beacon of hope in 1960 when it became independent, everybody believed Nigeria being the federation that it is, the diversity that it is, the qualified the people, the numerous people with degrees in positions of power. Everybody was very optimistic about Nigeria. Now, unfortunately, through the coup of 1966. The war of 1967 to 70, then the structural adjustment program that happened throughout the 80s, it caused a massive brain drain. And that the domino effect we're still feeling now. You have to understand Nigeria at the moment. Nigeria is a failing state. It's not even, don't take my word for it. You know, Omoyele Sowore, who's running for president at the moment, founded Sahara Reporters. These are his words. It's a failing state, and the facts are there for you to prove. When a Nigerian is in Nigeria, unless you're one of the elite, i.e. the politicians or the very, very wealthy, the Dangotes and all those type of people, it doesn't work for you. So you have to almost try and be part of them or leave the country. You see, just look at the examples that exist. Take the Nigerian police force, which is supposed to be the worst police force in the world, the worst, most corrupt. Now, that same police force, when they go on these peacekeeping or these training programs around the world, they win awards. You just have to Google it to see how much they win. Same thing with the army. Nigerian army is renowned for peacekeeping in Kosovo, in Sierra Leone, Liberia, all these things. They go and they win awards. You even look at Nigerian people. A Nigerian person decides to leave Nigeria. Next thing you know, there's a guy in America, a Nigerian guy, doctor, who is the only person to successfully take a baby out, a fetus, inside the mother, operate on it and put it back inside the mother. You have people who are so qualified and achieve all sorts of greatness.
Well, have you seen the movie with the concussion movie with Will Smith?
Will Smith film, exactly. I mean, that's just one of many examples. Once Nigerians leave the shores of Nigeria, they're successful. Now, who are the people that are in Nigeria succeeding? You know, it's the people that sell hope and it's people that sell entertainment. So the pastors are the wealthiest. The priests and pastors are the wealthiest. The politicians are the wealthiest. These are the two selling hope. Then the entertainers, you have the singers and the actors. Because what do people do when they're suffering? They go to church, they listen to the politicians, and they go and buy music, they go and listen to music, they go and watch Nollywood movies, they go watch football. Those are the people that are successful. So Nigeria as a failing state is only, even the fact that you have successful people tells you that there's a very big problem. Because how can there be so many people suffering in a nation that wealthy, and then people are deciding to leave the country? You know, you understand what I'm saying? So there's a point I just wanted to make as well, just before. I don't know if you wanted to ask me another question, but
no. It's just, but again, it's just what I'm noticing though is a lot of Nigerians are leaving Nigeria thinking that the grass is greener in places like India.
Yeah, I mean,
you know, that's where I'm lost. Like, if you're gonna leave, I would say, even though I know it's harder to get a visa, at least go to Europe or come to America. But you're going to places like India and China where they have. I understand what. I think again, if you focus on the type of people that are going to India, two types of Nigerians go to India: Igbo traders or traders in general. And I don't want to just say that Igbos are the only traders. Traders in general who go there on a short-term basis. They don't go there to migrate. My father and my mother, in fact, my sister was born in New Delhi. This is in the early 80s, but they went there for work. My father was in the Nigerian Foreign Service. So India is not India and China are not necessarily the places that people go settle. They go there, do long-term business, and return home. Now, you see, because of the connection, the connection between Indians who are in Nigeria and and the country itself, because Indians are very popular for trade as well. All across, if you look at the Swahili coast, I know you've gone up and down Tanzania, Kenya. These are the people doing bulk of business over there. They control the economies there.
Exactly, and it's similar in Nigeria. You have a whole bunch of them who have done business from the 60s, 70s, 80s. Because remember, the British colonial people, the so-called colonial people, a lot of their suits, people that made their suits were Indian people. A lot of the people that were helping them ship cars for a cheaper price were Indian people. So this isn't a new thing. Nigerian people will go there to do business. But in particular, when you focus on
this thing, not to cut you off, it's just what I don't appreciate or what I hate is when we go over there, we're treated like crap. When they come to Nigeria, we treat them like we roll out the red carpet.
Yeah, but this is part of the same problem that when you go to even as far as let me even think of the country. Even if you go to somewhere like Fiji, it's the same type of problem. You know, Black people in general around the world are suffering from the same problem. Let's not let's not try and isolate this issue. This is, we all have this problem where, because the enslavement of African people happened all over the world. It may not have been through ships, but it's happened all over the world. In Africa, we were colonized, which was a form of enslavement. Our brothers and sisters were sent over to America, were taken over to America forcibly. And also we had so many, like I said, in Tasmania and New Zealand, who were massacred, genocide on an incredible level. Right? So this is we've all suffered from the same thing. So rather than look at how we can better ourselves, we just accept the world. And so the best way to survive in this world is to look at the people who we think are God, try and ensure that they're happy with us. This is what we do.
True.
This is what we do. A lot of us, before you and I can get to the place where me and you are talking like this, we've been there at some stage in our lives.
Right.
Somehow, maybe not directly, but indirectly, we've been like that. So you have to understand that the masses do not have access to the information and do not have access to the time to study this information. You see, you could tell the average person in West Africa now, do you realize that Imhotep is really the father of Einstein? And they'll be like, so what does that do for my belly now?
Right.
You understand? What does that do? When the UN goes and puts out all these statistics that people are living on less than $1 a day and all these things, even though I don't necessarily see that as the problem, they also forget to mention that African people in particular are suffering from something called, or something that we can describe as a laziness to think, right? What they call stomach infrastructure. In other words, rather than build me a road, let me just put money in your pocket. This is what politicians do come election time, but it's also what our politicians do when they go and meet these Western multinational corporations.
Right.
Instead of you actually doing, extracting the oil and giving me the bulk of the money, the white man, I will give you a bunch of money so that you can just bypass everything and not put anything in your country. This same stomach of infrastructure, I need to eat before everybody else eats, is what is killing all of us. And it's no different in the United States, no different in Africa. And this is what we're all suffering. Last thing I'll mention, just a case, again, I was in Mali in April, and on my way back from Timbuktu, I was on a bus.
How was Timbuktu? Was it safe?
It was safe, but ironically, 2 days after I left, there was a bombing at the airport.
So is the airport in Timbuktu now functioning?
Well, 2 days after I left, there was a bombing, and my guide actually sent me some pictures. If you want to see, I could forward them to you.
Wow.
But again, after going there, because I have a Nigerian passport, and when I got to Mopti to Timbuktu, they told us that no foreigners. We were on these buses. They said no foreigners are allowed. So because we're filming and we had a permit and we were we made some calls, we eventually passed, and we had to bribe actually at certain posts because they really didn't want us to get there. In fact, the last mile to Timbuktu we had to walk because they refused to allow us. The bus refused to wait for us anymore. But Timbuktu surprised me because it's still functioning. It doesn't have as many tourists as it used to, but it's still functioning as normal. And then I later found out that even the so-called Islamists, some of the stories, and this will be on my documentary as well, the Islamists themselves, who are part of the community, by the way, didn't actually kill the number of people that these people said that they did during the occupation in 2013 or whenever it was. It actually wasn't true, according to the people that lived there. They said that, no, you have to take into consideration 2014 or 2012, they discovered there's oil in that region.
Right.
The current president as well, he's running for election this year. So it's in their benefit, it's in their best interest to keep the French forces in Timbuktu and by default, keep the fake media, fake news from spreading their BS. You understand? So really, even Timbuktu itself, yes, they might say that there are bombings here and there, but they're largely targeted on military camps. The Islamists are attacking individuals. For God's sake, they live there. They live there. These are their people. In fact, my guide, who I can put you in touch with when next you go, my guide was like, look, to be honest with you, people travel back and forth. There is no problem. There's no problem as far as Malians are concerned. This is an issue between the people of Mali and the people who are running Mali, as well as the French and the Belgians and the Swedes who are also there. I saw one army tank the whole time I was there in Timbuktu. So, you know, we have to even be mindful that the reason why we think certain things about ourselves is down to what is being told about us and who is actually giving us the information.
Right. Bringing information from. Right.
Yeah.
Right. Shout out to everybody in the chat room. Please hit that like button. We have 193 people watching, only 48 likes. Please stop being stingy with these likes and hit that like button. What are these Nigerian leaders thinking? Like, I just don't understand how a rich country like Nigeria could be in the situation that it's in today. And then look at places like Rwanda with Gaddafi.
I mean, it's simple. You know, you have a big federation like Nigeria. And, you know, Nigeria is in a very key position. I think there are two countries that will change the entire black race if they are fixed. I think Nigeria and Congo in particular.
Correct.
And
I agree.
So it's in someone's best interest for those places to be destabilized the way they are. You see, I'll focus on Nigeria. Nigeria in particular is, as I said, it's a failing state. But also, if you look at the recycling of leaders, so Obasanjo was president 1999 to 2007. He was also president in the 1970s. Buhari was president in 1984. He's also president now. You know, in fact, if you look at the ministers, you look at the senators over the last 20 or 30 years, they've just gone from the Senate to the ministers to presidents. You know, they're just governors. They're just recycling themselves, right? Now, again, a country where your president every 2 months has to run to England for medical treatment.
Right.
Forget how embarrassing it looks to the rest of the world. A country where your country boasts about its foreign reserve, in other words, how much money they have in a foreign country. These are failing states, right? Failing because of the leadership. So the leadership is not really who you is not really doing anything, never has been doing anything, never been interested in doing anything. Because they, you know, instead of paying for a hospital for the president to go and be treated, they rather fly him outside. Instead of
somebody was saying his doctors that knows him, that has been his doctor for years, is in the UK. So that's why he has to go.
What's that movie, Last King of Scotland? You mean to tell me a president can't afford to bring the doctor over and incentivize him? But more importantly, with all the doctors doing successful things all across the world, you mean he can't pay those doctors to come and be his personal physician? I mean, with all due respect to that person that just spoke, that's a very ignorant statement. You cannot assume that you're making any statement of fact by saying that. The reality is these people are not interested in the well-being of the people, because if they were, they would have done something about it. That's the reality. So my brother, when he was speaking yesterday, I know he didn't articulate himself as well, but that's the reality on the ground. People genuinely, you know, there's no social security. Minimum wage in Nigeria is 15,000 naira. So that's what?
$350.
$60 a month. But on the flip side, my brother, the senators, okay, they earn 15 or 13 million naira per month. So we're talking about 300 grand a month. That's just in allowances. You know, if you restructure their pay and their salary, then maybe you put some money towards doing things for the people, but they choose not to. They would rather put their money in their pocket. That's the reality. It's not something that you can even argue about. The facts are there. They just got rid of the finance minister last week. You know, a British-born, trained finance minister. They got rid of her, and they've said that, that she faked her NYSC certificate, which is this thing that you do for a year after university in order for you to work in the country. They said that she faked it. And who they put? They put somebody from Buhari's local town, Daura. You know, I mean, this is not news. These are just how things work. But again, who stands to benefit the most? You see, because when these politicians make all their money, instead of investing in the country, they still go and build their houses in England, in Dubai.
Right.
Dubai, the particular
do like your boy, the former president. He built this giant library, right? That he's gonna live in, correct?
Yeah.
It's like everything surrounding it is absolute impoverished, but the roads are terrible, but the roads leading up to this library is
and even and many governors too will build universities, private universities that they'll send that they'll charge exorbitant prices for people to go to, but they won't fix the state universities in the town. Why? Because they're not interested in the betterment of the people. It's as simple as that. You know, so, and these people, though, again, the politicians will go and spend their money outside, and, you know, they will go and put their money in Swiss banks, and they will go and build, go and buy the most luxurious houses around the world. You have a guy running for president, Atiku Abubakar, who was former vice president, who is banned from the United States. He has a court case in, what's that place in Maryland? I forget the name of the town in Maryland where all these Nigerians build their...
I would think probably Baltimore, maybe.
It's not Baltimore. It's Potomac or something like that. Potomac.
Okay. That's like near DC, I think, but that's Maryland. Same difference.
He's banned. He has a court case there because of some taxes that he hasn't paid, and he wants to become president really so he can get back to the United States. He also, you know, you also have to look at the some of the politicians that have been dealing with drugs. You have a minister right now from, I think, Ekiti State, for example. Ekiti State, who was the former governor, he's now the head of this.
1 second, brother. Guys, we have 208 people watching, only 85 likes. Please hit that like button. Please hit the like button. The brother's dropping some jewels. Thank you. All right, go ahead. I'm sorry.
So you have like the governor, the Senate president at the moment was the former governor of Ekiti State. Back in the early 90s, this man was the head of a bank called Societe Generale Bank. So it's a big international bank. He literally, there's a police report on how he looted that bank to the point where it became completely bankrupt. You even have, if you know the footballer JJ Okocha, former footballer for Nigeria, you know, he lost a lot of money in that same bank. This man was able to go from there to become a governor in his state, looted the state for 8 years, and now is the Senate president. I mean, so it just tells you the type of people that we have running the country. People are very uninterested. And by the way, he has a dual passport, it's both British and Nigerian, which is really ridiculous for an elected official.
All right, so real quick. So I asked the brother yesterday who was on the chat, so why are people like Aliko Dogan? Well, I know Aliko's story, you know, but people like Tony Amilu and all these other Nigerian billionaires, how are they able to strive and do well in Nigeria, even though you have all this, you know, chaos?
Okay. I mean, first of all, I want to just, because there's something about Dangote that was mentioned yesterday, I wanted to just try and see if I could just add to it. You see, again, back to the point where I made, where when they amalgamated Nigeria in 1913, right? You have to understand, once a link is made between a country, trade routes have to be established, right?
Right.
And the Dan Tata family, which is, I think, Aliko Dangote's uncle. And by the way, I went to school with Aliko Dangote's son. I went to a very elitist school in Togo, where a lot of rich politicians went to school. So I know a lot of these guys. His family was already wealthy because they come from that line of the Sadana of Sokoto and all the wealthy people in the Hausa land who, when the colonial people came in, they partnered up with them and had them as demigods running the place. So the wealth is a generational wealth. With all due respect,
okay.
But also, but the newer ones, the Omelus and people like that, but also Femi Otedola, who is, his daughter is DJ Cuppy. I don't know if you've heard of DJ Cuppy.
Yeah, I'm very familiar with DJ Cuppy. Yes.
I mean, those type of people, again, there's to an extent they have a certain generational wealth, but it's fairly more, it's more recent. Again, 1960 to now, very little has changed in terms of who is running the country, right? It's the same sort of people, same sort of line of leadership. So those people were very chummy with those people and made a lot of money from back then. And so now we're only seeing the names come up now, but it's the same family. It's not just that. Alakija family, if you ever heard of the Alakija family, another very famous, wealthy family. And every 10 years, a new person that's wealthy from that family that people talk about. So this is...
what's the last name again?
Alakija. Another wealthy family.
I have it.
Wealthy family from, I think they're from Lagos or Ogun State, someone like that. But those people are wealthy and they're ridiculously wealthy.
Right.
You know, when we're talking about people who have bank accounts which are like the GDP of Somalia, you know, like silly money, ridiculous money. And that's with Nigeria and Africa in general. When you set up a business, within minutes, you can be, you know, within minutes, you can be wealthy. And that's the thing with Nigeria as well. There's nothing that starts from small and goes big like you can in the States. Everything starts big and probably implodes after 5 years. The banks, most of the banks haven't been there 10 years. They've already gone under, but in a year's time,
UBA is still there. UBA is still there.
UBA was, UBA, like First Bank, are still there, but those were established a long time ago. And to an extent, they are foreign, for lack of a better term. You know, they're more multinational. First Bank, for example, was part of Barclays Bank back in the 60s. UBA was more of a Pan-African bank, so it was maintained differently. So those ones were lost. I mean, they become privatized now. So I can assure you, next 10 years, they probably won't be around. I can assure you. But you know,
UBA, you don't really.
I think they've started doing this privatization thing now, where the government has taken over control of many of them, because you know they're charging loans at 35%. They're giving them to politicians who will never pay it back, and so the banks go bankrupt. It's as simple as that. 35%. You know this politician's not going to pay you back, but they give the loans because of the person who's signing the check will take 1% of that loan. So, you know, it's not. If Nigeria was run properly, though, and I'm talking of if we had 4 hours of electricity longer, consistent 4 hours of electricity, can you imagine how much more would happen? You know, you have security issues in Nigeria. You have obviously the power issues in Nigeria. You have the problems of leadership. You know, there's thieves all over the place, armed robbers, Boko Haram, all these Fulani herdsmen. All these things will be eradicated if we had more electricity, because by default, those people who have turned to crime and all these other things will have something else to do. You know, so Nigeria needs a lot of investment. And I think this next election is going to be crucial. And I would advise you, if you can get in touch, there's a guy who's running for president, Omoyele. He's probably the candidate you need to look into. Again, don't take my word for it.
Hold on, I think hold on one second. Let me look this up real quick. I think somebody sent me some information on not too long ago. He's a young guy, right? He's like what, 37?
Yeah. And he's lived in the state. He's lived in the States 19 years. He runs Sahara Reporters, which is like they call it the WikiLeaks of Africa, which is another, you know, where he's just exposed all these guys. You know, he was a student.
Oh, so I know he's probably hated.
Yo, he's hated big time. He's got the most lawsuits. He sued in American courts, sued in Nigerian courts. You know,
I know a friend of mine, a Nigerian friend of mine in the UK. She sent me hold on. She sent me a video of him speaking. He's very young, very strong. She told me to reach out to him.
Yeah. He would be good for. And you know, a lot of us are behind him. He's just formed a new political party in the last month.
Do you think he has a chance, honestly?
No, you know, I'll say this. The party with the most money at the last election lost. That was the PDP. Good luck, Jonathan. They had all the money in the world and they still lost to Buhari for two reasons. One, Good Luck was terrible. He's a terrible leader. But also the social media involvement in the last election. So Sahara Reporters, which is Omoyele Showore's company, a lot of what they did was literally go to the polling booths and count the votes as people were counting them. Because, you know, in Nigeria, you know, or really corrupt countries, they count the votes and then they go in the room and stuff the ballot boxes. And by the time it gets to the central office, the numbers have been inflated. But what they did this time is they exposed everything live on camera. And so the INEC, which is the officiating polling company, had no choice but to announce the same result. So that's what helped Buhari win.
Yeah, is Buhari running again?
He's running again, yeah. He's announced he's 70, whatever. He's not been, you know, he's probably had 1 year of active duty. The rest of it has been spent in hospital or in London. So, I mean, this is not somebody who...
From my understanding, everyone loves his vice president. How do you feel about the vice president?
His vice president's a better candidate. He's, you know, again, I'm very skeptical about so-called, what they call them, men of God, pastors, leading. He's a pastor. That's really what he is. He's articulate. but he also has the European mindset. So he may be a little bit better in that he might bring Nigeria to the 21st century to an extent, but he's not he's not the kind of guy that I would say as a Pan-African or even as somebody who's thinking about the globality of the Black race. He's not really somebody I would say is amazing.
Right.
I think they're better. I think they're better people. I think generally we have people that we're used to. You know, I mean, you know, what makes him, just because he's able to string a few sentences better than Buhari, and he's able to, you know, do the macroeconomics, talk all these numbers, and doesn't really necessarily make him a great leader. You know, he's a pastor, you know, all due respect.
Now, people are saying your outlook on Nigeria is very pessimistic. Why would anyone want to go there? What would be your response to that? I'm going back. I'll be back in Nigeria probably first week of October. So what do you?
I think what you're doing is dispelling what these people might see. You see, the danger with listening to facts is you internalize the facts and assume that there's nothing good about the country. I'm just talking about the politics and the things that have made it bad over the years. The reality is no Black person can show up in Nigeria and feel like they will be kidnapped or feel like they will be in some way be treated less than a human being. That's just false.
I love Nigeria. I mean, don't get me wrong, the infrastructure is terrible, but I mean, I love Nigeria.
And these are the things that need to change. And unfortunately, again, when you're a Westerner, and that's why it's very important to find out who are the people that are saying this. Where do they live? Where do they come from? What's
go ahead. I'm
background?
Sorry, somebody was calling me on Facebook. But go ahead, O'Shea, I'm on a live stream right now, brother. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
So those people would be important to know what their background is. Where do they come from? Where do they live? Where have they grown up? Because if you've grown up in the West, everything you're looking at is through the idiot box, through TV. So somebody like me will come and speak to you and you won't have a nuanced view. The reality is, if I decided to pick on certain American people and told them to tell me the realities of where they live in America, nobody will want to go from anywhere else in the world to America.
Right.
So it's all context. People still go there. America has sold the world on their philosophy of America is a great country, everything's amazing. That is the biggest propaganda machine on the planet, the United States of America. Because the reality is there's more. There could be as many people living in poverty in America as in Nigeria, but you just won't know. Because we already have a tainted vision of Africa and Nigeria in particular, it's easy for you to just take what I said and assume that I mean that the country's terrible. But we'll go there. There's so much to see. I'm going there in a couple of weeks, you know, and from there I'm driving through Benin and Togo to Ghana. So it's doable, but it's just you have to have your eyes open, just like you would anywhere else in the world.
But again, the argument is, if Nigerians or Africans in general, specifically Nigerians, since we're dealing with Nigeria, if they are leaving Nigeria in the way and the manner that they are, why should anyone want to go to Nigeria?
Well, again, the Nigerians have been leaving Nigeria for a long time, right? They've been leaving for a long time. The 1980s was the biggest rush. People have been going steadily, but people are also going back in large numbers. My good friends just moved back. They lived in the UK all their lives. They moved back with their entire family because they got a good job. You see, Nigeria it's like they're two different worlds. There's, say, Lagos, for example, there's the Lekki, VI, Ikoyi world, where everything, it's like Dubai in a way. And then you have the people that live in and around them on the mainland, right? You see, Nigerians have a mentality of succeeding, you know? So when you have a certain status, it's an amazing place to live. The people that are going there, the people I'm sure that are making comments right now, are probably. Are you
in the comment section?
No, I'm not. No.
All right. Well, yeah. We'll go ahead and finish it. Go ahead and finish.
But the people I'm sure who are making these comments, whether they're Nigerians or not, the reality is their experience of Nigeria will be different from the common man, and that's who I'm more concerned with. The people who, you know, the vulcanizer, the people selling tomatoes on the road. I'm more concerned about those people having a fair shake rather than the people who have the benefit of having a foreign job or a father or mother who's rich. That's my concern. So, but Nigeria's, you know, it's a good place to go to. And I'll be very honest with you. I wouldn't say it's, for me personally as a Nigerian, it's much more it's much more pleasant for me to visit Benin right across the border, or Togo, or Ghana. or Ivory Coast. You know, those because of what, unfortunately, the infrastructure is more conducive to what I'm used to, you know, on a general basis. You know, in Nigeria, even those people who live in the wealthy areas, I don't know if you heard a few weeks ago, in Lekki, the same Lekki area, the wealthy area, there was a mass, a tank blew up. So many people died.
Is that the one that blew up on the freeway?
Yeah, exactly. You know, and this is to do with mismanagement. I mean, the country, if our leaders had been dealing with the nation the way they should have been, things like that would have been avoided. But they don't care. So even when you're wealthy, you still have, unfortunately, you can still experience things like that. That's just the reality. You know, so I'm sorry if you feel like you can't visit Nigeria. You still have to go there. But
like I said, I love Nigeria, man. I'll be back now. If Lagos had a Senegalese restaurant, I would be in heaven. But outside of that, I think Nigeria as it is. I mean, well, it can improve as far as infrastructure wise, as far as electricity, roads, you know, because I mean, when I was in Osun State in Oksobo, like we were out of electricity for 6 hours a day. Like it was standard. Like, this time from this.
6 isn't bad.
I mean, somebody else was telling me that 6 hours isn't that bad. I'm like, are you serious?
It means things are improving. I mean, my whole family, my parents, my siblings, they all live in Nigeria, you know, but and you know, ironically, like I said, my mother's not even Nigerian. She's from Rwanda. She lived in Nigeria for nearly 30 years, but my mother will never leave Nigeria. What does that tell you? She's from Rwanda. Will never leave Nigeria, not because her husband's there and her children are there. She said, if I have money, this is the best place to live in the world. You know, so again, if it depends on where you're going, who you're going with, before you know, for you to experience Nigeria. If you're going to live in, you know, on the mainland in a place like Badagry, for example, or Mushi, one of these like ghetto areas, of course you can't look forward to that. But chances are the people who are commenting will be going.
Badagry wasn't that bad for you know.
But again, Badagry is not that, and I think. Dennis, I think with all due respect, you're someone who more wants to connect with the people. Very few of us are like that. The majority of us make sure that my hotel has the same Wi-Fi speed as America or England, wherever I'm coming from, that to an extent, if I want to buy something, I know the price ahead of time. You know, the West has got us so confused thinking that this is civilization.
Right.
You know, we're obsessed. We think civilization is being able to go and flush your toilet properly. The reality is civilization is how you get on with your common man. And you don't get that better than when you go into the communities and see, like I saw some of your videos, the way the people were talking to you and embracing you, that's how it is.
Right.
Those people, for all you know, could have been armed robbers. I'm not saying they were, but just to paint a picture, you don't know, the people are generally doing what they're doing out of frustration. You know, they're doing it because they have no choice. They feel they have no choice. So African people around the world in the diaspora, don't look at Nigeria and say that just because I'm making some comments about how bad the nation has been run, that is not a place to visit, right? It's still a place that you can visit. I personally think there are many places across the continent for you to visit if you want to get an African experience. You know, but if you're used to a certain standard, you know, Nigeria is you could go to Nigeria, but there are also other places you can visit. I think what are you going to Nigeria for is my main thing. What are you going there for?
Let me ask you, how do you feel about I know you mentioned Benin. What's your thoughts on Benin? I've been there twice. I'll be back in January. What are your thoughts on Benin?
Well, Benin is they had a recent election where the president that was voted in had made sure that the corruption with the police has stopped. So now the police stops, for example, you know, the corruption isn't there as much. Again, people are not living, they're not wealthy people there, but it's a much smaller country. What is it, 6 million population?
Yeah, it's not that big. I'm trying to figure out where do you keep 200? Where are the 200 million people that live in Nigeria? That's a lot of people.
Yeah, I mean, what, 2 times the size of California? You know, so it's pretty big. You know, and we still have empty land. The problem is, again, when these Europeans came and confused us, everybody started migrating to cities. So the rural areas, you go to the rural areas, you know, there's a lot of land. You go to the north, the northeast, Sahara Desert, the amount of I mean, if these people decided to build cities there, you know, I mean, there'll be so much room for people to go to. But they say Lagos is going to have a population of 25 million in like the next 10 years. That's ridiculous amount in one geographic location. That's more than 10% of the population, you know? So, you know, Benin and countries like that are nice. But again, you wouldn't, as a Nigerian, there's no better place for me to be than in Nigeria because, again, Nigeria moves at a faster pace. The people there are much more switched on. Just think about the things that they're doing around the world. You know, look at all the success that they're achieving around the world. Those mines are in Nigeria right now. So the nightlife, for example, if that's what you're looking for, fun, the culture, you know, there's no place you go to where you see more elected officials wearing their native clothes than Nigeria.
True. I would say that's true.
You know, I mean, people are really, even though, you know, typically, you know, inside their minds, they think Western, there are some things that are very, and there are some people that are very, very into their culture, you know. I agree with that. You know, my mind is always thinking about the benefits of the Black race as a general theme. So I don't really focus so much on, you know, can you go and get Starbucks or KFC there? I'm not interested in things like that. I'm more concerned with. Yeah,
I don't care about that. I see. That's what I don't understand. Why would you want KFC or McDonald's when you get suya off the street?
Yeah, but again, it's part of that way of thinking. Even though you know, say for example, Coca-Cola. Even though you know Coca-Cola is this foreign thing that is against, you know, it kills you. It has so much sugar and all these things, all these chemicals. It's only good for cleaning your toilet and things like that. We would still rather have it because it's foreign. It's just like the Louis Vuitton thing, you know, Nigeria and Louis, Gucci, all these, same thing that Black people do around the world, by the way. We would rather buy all these things, even though it makes no difference to our outfit. It's just having a name. Again, we want to say.
Another thing too. Oh, well, since we're speaking on drinks, I could not find for the life of me any BSAP in Nigeria.
Yeah, I think that's down to you were in Lagos. Where were you looking for it? Lagos or
in Osun State? Osun State, yeah.
I haven't really been to Osun State before, but I know that the governor of Lagos really tried to knuckle down on a lot of, at least street vendors selling stuff like that, because he was trying to clean up this image of Lagos. So they even got rid of like the Okadas in some places, you know, the motorcycles. They got rid of them in places, you know, the downfall buses, the little yellow buses. But they've tried to regenerate the place for Western investors. So it's not as easy to find things like that. But it's even in I went to, when I was in Togo, there's another thing they have called Tampico. I don't know if you know Tampico. It's like fan yogo, you know, the yogurt sachet drinks.
Yeah, but I gotta have my BSAP. I gotta have my BSAP. There's no substitution for BSAP. I could not find any BSAP in Nigeria. I didn't look at Lagos, but I have to have my BSAP or I can't function.
If not, somebody will find it for you. You seem like you have enough connects. If you let them know ahead of time, they'll get it for you.
Okay. Netted network television was disagreeing with you, saying you're out of touch when it comes to Nigeria. What would be your response to that?
I'm out of touch. Where's who's the person? What's the name?
Nenet Network Television.
Where's Nenet Network Television? Where are they? Us?
I guess he's in Nigeria. I don't know. Yeah, he's in Nigeria.
Look, as far as being out of touch, I think out of touch is something that you say when you're trying to, the ship is sinking, and rather than be exposed to the truth for you to do things better, you rather dismiss what somebody is saying. I don't really care whether they think I'm out of touch or not. The realities are, I'm trying to speak as many facts as possible. I'm trying to stick to statistics and things that are proven in the media. Now, me being out of touch, I think has to do with me saying that Nigeria has all these problems, but I don't know whether that person themselves is benefiting from some of the mismanagement of Nigeria, because this is another thing. A lot of people are wealthy in Nigeria as a byproduct of aligning themselves with people who are, you know, in the elite of Nigeria. So their own frame of mind is not the same as mine. My family lives in Ebute Metta. If you ask that person where Ebute Metta is, they'll tell you where that is. That's the ghetto. When I go there in 2 weeks, that's where I'm going to, the ghetto. We have a flood. Our house is Right next door to our house is a man-made is a poorly made lagoon, which is supposed to be a road. So the people that are around me are the real people. Go and Google Ebute Metta. If I'm gonna vlog it, I have a YouTube channel. I'm gonna vlog it. I'll show you where I live.
Okay, yeah.
Out of touch is that's I don't know what you're trying to say.
Okay. Let's see what else we got here in the chat room. But any more questions? Somebody said, please come to Ebute Metta.
Ebute Metta.
Yeah.
Ebute Metta. Yeah, that's where.
Yeah, I don't know what that is. You know what that is?
No, Ebute Metta is where I live. I think maybe they're commenting.
Oh, okay. That's where you live. Oh, okay.
Ebute Metta is on the mainland. You probably passed where I live, actually. You'd have seen it on 3rd Mainland Bridge on the way to the airport. Big gray buildings. That's where I live. Looks like a project housing area in the States. That's where I live. That's where we've lived it for nearly 30 years.
Oh, wow.
Ironically, we moved there and it was a middle-class place, and it still is to a certain degree middle-class, certain areas around it, but it's a ghetto.
Okay.
So,
the hood.
It's the hood, yeah.
Yeah, guys, click that like button. Any other questions in the chat room, people? Any other questions or statements? All right, brother, what we'll do, we'll go ahead and close out. Anything else you want to share in closing? Also, how can people get in contact with you? Okay.
Well, first of all, Dennis, thank you so much, my brother.
Oh, no, anytime, brother. Whenever you want to come back on, man, you just let me know.
Well, just to close out, I will say that, in fact, I don't really want to point anything out because I don't want people to have a more tainted view of Africa in general, or Nigeria in particular. But I will say I'm going to be in Accra on the 27th of September.
I'll be in Ivory Coast.
On the 27th?
On the 28th, I'll be in Ivory. Let's see here. I leave on the 20th. I'll be in Ivory Coast on the 28th.
Okay. Oh, okay. You're not going to Ghana by any chance?
Not to December.
Okay. Well, I've got a film screening at University of Ghana. I'm doing a little lecture there afterwards, film that I made called Mona. So, in fact, another guy you should get on your show, Obadele Kambon, who's another repatriated American. He's lived in Ghana for 10 years. He's doing incredible work re-educating African people on their own culture. So he's the research fellow at the Institute of African Studies in Ghana. So they're bringing me over for this screening. He's someone you have to check his YouTube channel. You have to. Now, he also by default has a channel, a black social media website, which is about 10 years old. It's called Abibitumi Casa. So it's a social media. It's like your Facebook. That's the only place you will find me on. Onuora _Abuah. That's ONUORA _Abuah, ABUAH. So that's where you'll find me on social media. Other than that, I have a YouTube channel which I've just started. Onuora Abuah, again, same spelling. Yeah, I mean, continue the good work, my brother.
I appreciate it. Thank you.
Unfortunately, people have to be woken up somehow, and maybe what we're saying is hitting a nerve, and with time they will see that what we're saying is reality.
Shout out to Doug in the chat room. Shout out to Doug. Oh, go ahead, brother.
Yeah. So that's just all I wanted to say. So thank you.
So last question. Let's get your opinion on this. Someone asked in the chat room: Ghana or Nigeria as far as Black Americans relocating to?
I mean, the proof is in the pudding. Again, go and look at what Abibitumi Casa is doing. In fact, Obadele Kambon has a school with Samori Kamara, who I think
I know Samori. Yeah,
they have a Black liberation school there. For young kids, really teaching them about the way of life, the history, and so on, and the languages. So without question, I mean, you go back to, Bob Marley's wife, Du Bois. Everybody knows the story.
Well, Du Bois is a clown, but I'm sorry.
But the general thing is there's been a link between Black America and Ghana for the longest time. Kwame Nkrumah made the country independent in 1957. Since then, you've had a steady flow of people moving there. It's just, even from the UK, Caribbean people. It's for Black Americans, it's a starting point for you if you want to get a West African experience. I think Nigeria, probably in about 5 or 10 years, that would be the place for you to go to.
Okay.
Depending on your character, of course,
I think I'm gonna more than likely go to Nigeria because everything you just mentioned as far as our connection,
Yeah.
still, when I go to Ghana, I can't get Ghanaian citizenship, can't get a passport. You know, if I want to buy land, it's a lease term 30 years. If you're a citizen, it's 99 or something like that. So it's still the rules treated like foreigners.
Nigeria is very just as bureaucratic as Ghana. Don't get it twisted. It's very bureaucratic, same thing. But the thing with Nigeria is there's so many ways around the rules. You see, like you can get a Nigerian passport right now if you want it.
How? We'll talk offline. We'll talk offline.
Yeah, we'll talk offline. You can, but the reality is Nigeria unfortunately has no rules that are really being implemented. It's always money under the counter. So unfortunately, there are ways around everything. Whereas Ghana is a little tighter, smaller country as well. So you don't get the same type of kickback in Ghana. You know, things are a little bit more bureaucratic, but Nigeria is just as bureaucratic. Trust me. You just try and take go and renew your passport.
True. Well, brother, thank you so much for joining us, guys. Make sure you hit that like button as you exit. Make sure you go to search for Huru on Instagram, Snapchat, Twitter, and Facebook. Also go to dynastymirror.com, Amazon.com, search for Huru.com. Until next time, family, peace.
Peace. Thank you.
Oh, no problem, brother. No problem.